You are back at the Dinar Trend Tracker channel. Did you know that a World Bank's decision can alter a country's economic destiny forever? One of the most significant financial world updates is here today, the International Monetary Fund. In a formal announcement, the International Monetary Fund has greenlit Iraq's currency reform plan. You won't find this financial headline anywhere else. This might be a watershed moment for the Iraqi economy, ushering in a new era. Political unrest and currency depreciation have been two of Iraq's long-running economic problems, making it difficult for millions of people to keep their purchasing power stable. Now, though, Iraq can confidently and credibly return to the international financial scene, thanks to the backing of the IMF. In this video, we'll show you how this decision was made, what it means for Iraq, and how it could affect regular people, investors, and companies there and abroad. Representatives from 190 member countries gathered for the recent IMF meeting that resulted in this decision. The finance minister of Iraq gave a lengthy report on the state of the Iraqi economy over the period of many days. The important points covered in this report include the measures done to stabilize the banking sector and combat inflation, as well as the efforts made to stabilize the currency and increase foreign exchange reserves. The board members of the International Monetary Fund deliberated over these developments, considering the pros and cons, before making a decision. As a formal acknowledgement of Iraq's efforts to stabilize its financial system, the IMF has approved the country's planned dinar rate framework. An increase in foreign investment, better trade prospects, and access to emergency funds in the event of economic difficulties are all made possible by this acknowledgement, which is crucial since it indicates trust on an international level. This is much more than just figures for the Iraqis. It is a symbol of optimism, development, and the building blocks for sustainable economic revival. The Iraqi dinar had a hard time gaining and keeping trust from foreign markets for a long time. The devaluation of the currency was a result of political instability, economic mismanagement, and wars that followed Iraq's invasion in 2003, which in turn limited the country's capacity to trade internationally. Everyday life becomes more difficult for ordinary residents when their purchasing power declines, making them the worst hit by these issues. With the IMF's blessing, Iraq's economy is finally heading in the right path, marking a watershed moment. Businesses and individuals in Iraq would have more chances to engage with the global financial system as a result of banks' increased willingness to process transactions involving the country. Costs might go down, economic confidence could rise, and foreign enterprises seeking stable and growing markets could be enticed. This decision signifies a major step toward recovery from the economic crisis, which is never an easy ride. How did the International Monetary Fund arrive at this landmark finding? In an effort to stabilize its economy, Iraq has spent the past 5 years executing significant reforms. Iraq is now more in line with international standards in terms of openness, accountability, and anti-money laundering efforts thanks to banking reforms. Stricter restrictions on currency auctions were imposed by the central bank, which reduced earlier corruption and mismanagement. At the same time, the government made strides to diversify its income sources away from oil, and new tax collecting techniques increased non-oil revenue by a remarkable 40%. To make it more efficient and dependable, the financial system was modernized with the help of investments in infrastructure and technology. An indication that the government is doing more than just talking is the permission it received from the International Monetary Fund, IMF. Measurable outcomes are being produced, which improve stability and lay the groundwork for long-term growth. In light of this, what does the IMF's approval imply for regular Iraqis? It acknowledges, first, that Iraq has been making measures to stabilize its currency. Foreign capital and trade can now more easily flow into Iraqi banks thanks to this license, which facilitates their participation in international financial markets. Previously fearful businesses can now confidently connect with worldwide partners, cutting costs and enhancing profit margins. Families transferring funds internationally may see reduced fees and quicker processing times as a result, and citizens may see more stable prices for imported goods, easier access to loans, and enhanced financial services overall. The clearance from the IMF won't fix all of the economy's problems right away, but it will pave the way for little but significant improvements that will have a big impact on people's lives. The Iraqi dinar will be introduced to a managed float system under the approved exchange rate framework. Put simply, this implies that the currency can move within specific boundaries, but the central bank can step in to curb excessive volatility if needed. This method helps to safeguard the economy from unexpected shocks by balancing stability with market-driven changes. To make sure Iraq keeps meeting the IMF standards, the framework also has quarterly evaluations. In order to keep receiving funding from the IMF, Iraq must keep sufficient foreign reserves, restructure its banking system, and keep up its anti-corruption efforts. For an economy that has been recovering from decades of volatility, this structure is essential since it gives both flexibility and accountability, while holding the government to account for the country's financial health. It instills confidence in overseas investors. It is critical to respond to the criticisms voiced by critics. Some contend that Iraq's government revenue is highly sensitive to oil price fluctuations because the country is still very dependent on this commodity. Iraq has invested in agriculture, manufacturing, and technology to diversify its economy, so this is not entirely unfounded. Eventually, these areas may lessen our reliance on oil since they are gradually demonstrating promise. The IMF's clearance implies that there has been an improvement in overall stability, while there are still continued security difficulties in particular places. Such decisions are not taken lightly by international financial organizations. Before they give their blessing, they carefully weigh the potential political and economic consequences. This signifies that Iraq has proven to be resilient and make sufficient progress to gain the trust of the IMF, while facing adversities. Let's have a look at the potential effects of this change on everyday people. Consider Ahmed, a Baghdadi small business owner who often buys goods from Chinese manufacturers. Finding banks willing to handle his foreign payments was a challenge for him prior to the IMF permission, which caused delays and increased costs. Now that the necessary approvals are in place, Ahmed may save money and expand his firm because banks are more likely to process these deals efficiently. Sarah is not alone in her desire to study abroad so that she may send money home to her family quickly and at a lower cost. As a result of these shifts, the economy as a whole benefits from easier access to resources, more commerce, and more chances for regular people to take part in a thriving market. The human element in financial change is this: actual advantages for actual individuals. The decision of the IMF also has wider ramifications for the economy of Iraq. Iraq will be a more appealing location for international investment once its financial system is recognized as legitimate on a global scale. The increased trust in Iraq's economic stability among Middle Eastern expansionist companies has opened the door to new job opportunities, infrastructural projects, and business possibilities. This has the potential to alleviate poverty, raise living standards, and quicken economic growth in the long run. The clearance from the IMF gives Iraq the credibility it needs to attract significant global attention and investment, and while the process will take years, every step toward stability is vital. Stability in the area is another critical consideration. The stability of Iraq's economy helps keep the Middle East safe as a whole. People are less likely to support terrorist organizations or participate in criminal actions when they have economic opportunities. With its financial standing now in better shape, Iraq may join regional supply chains and integrate its economy with adjacent markets. This could inspire neighboring countries to follow suit, which would be great for regional trade and economic cooperation. There will be greater chances for foreign investors to profit from a more predictable and integrated Middle Eastern economy as a result of this. There is more to Iraq's economic growth than meets the eye. Making the region's communities safer and more wealthy is the main goal. Investors can rest easy while interacting with Iraq's financial markets thanks to the IMF's clearance. The strengthened structure offers a clear mechanism for stability and prosperity, despite the fact that concerns like political uncertainty and regional conflicts persist. Iraq is an attractive market for foreign investment due to its abundance of natural resources, which include oil as well as minerals, agriculture, and a prime location for trade. Iraq can revitalize long-neglected economic areas by progressively boosting investor confidence, attracting money, and executing reforms in accordance with IMF standards. Change in the economy happens slowly, and it is vital to keep in mind. Even with the IMF's blessing, Iraq's economic woes will not go away immediately. Issues such as corruption, infrastructure deficiencies, and unemployment demand ongoing focus and funding. Nevertheless, the green light establishes a foundation for advancement. As a result, economic development projects can tap into foreign knowledge, funding, and assistance. Regular Iraqis may eventually benefit from better public services, upgraded infrastructure, and more economic prospects as a result of this. This will not be a temporary solution. Assuring the country's long-term growth and stability is the goal of this plan. To comprehend Iraq's advancement, it is essential to observe the subsequent actions. Quarterly assessments will be conducted by the IMF to assess the country's compliance with the agreed framework. Evaluations of budgetary discipline, banking sector performance, and foreign exchange reserves will be conducted. Continued funding from the IMF could be at risk if these conditions are not maintained. Similarly, investor confidence will be heavily influenced by regional security and political developments. How soon Iraq can turn this into real economic growth depends on keeping a watch on these things. The benefits of the IMF's approval may not be immediately noticeable to the ordinary Iraqi citizen. But they exist and have significance. Quality of life can be gradually enhanced by more dependable banking services, decreased transaction costs, and more foreign investment. Potentially more stable incomes for families, more employment prospects, and more business growth are all within the realm of possibility. Households around the nation may feel the beneficial impact of international recognition, which gives hope that Iraq is finally making progress. This announcement brings a sense of cautious hope to individuals who own Iraqi dinars. The currency now has stronger institutional support and is recognized internationally. While the IMF's blessing is certainly noteworthy, it is only the beginning of a much longer process. Iraq has to keep fighting corruption, investing in education and tech, and diversifying its economy. By taking these steps, we can make sure that economic progress benefits everyone. Iraq can protect itself from political unrest, global economic shocks, and swings in oil prices by strengthening its economy. To successfully pursue these projects, the legitimacy and international assistance required are provided by the sponsorship of IMFs. Right now is your chance. A chance to ensure a prosperous and stable future for generations to come. The sanction also fortifies Iraq's monetary ties with other countries. The likelihood of international banks partnering with Iraqi financial institutions has increased, which bodes well for investment, trade, and loan access. Business expansion, more imports, and exports are all possible outcomes of this enhanced connectedness. Iraq may now access international finance for healthcare, education, and infrastructure initiatives. These changes have the potential to strengthen the economy and, in the long run, improve people's quality of life. Even though there are still obstacles, Iraq has a once-in-a-lifetime chance to change its financial trajectory. Considering the bigger picture, Iraq has weathered decades of economic storms. The Iraqi dinar has shown remarkable instability throughout its history, from sanctions in the 90s to wars in the aughts. The country's capacity to develop, entice international investment, and meet the needs of its people was greatly hindered by these events. Iraq has made it through decades of disaster and is finally ready to rebound, thanks to the approval from the International Monetary Fund. When Iraq reaches international standards and makes the required reforms, it will enter a new period in which economic growth and stability are within grasp. For future generations, this might be a watershed moment that changes the course of the nation. Finally, the green light from the International Monetary Fund for Iraq's dinar exchange rate system is significant outside the realm of finance. This could be a watershed moment in Iraq's history. It could have far-reaching consequences, from bringing in foreign investment and new jobs to stabilizing the currency. Nevertheless, one must approach this news with a cautiously optimistic mindset. Stability, long-term planning, and ongoing reforms are necessary for economic recovery. This clearance lays the groundwork for future growth and gives investors and Iraqis the chance to be a part of Iraq's rebirth story. We shall keep an eye on the situation and report back on Iraq's economic status as it develops. Currency performance, banking sector stability, regional trends, and quarterly IMF evaluations should all be closely monitored. The rate at which Iraq can profit from this historic approval is dependent on several variables. Watching this will give you a glimpse into the world of international finance and the ways in which decisions made at the global level can have an effect on economies all around the world. You can better handle the possibilities and threats that Iraq's economic path will bring if you keep yourself informed. Is this historic IMF decision something you can get behind? Will it genuinely start Iraq's economic recovery? Post your opinions and analysis in the space provided. To stay up to date on all the latest news and economic events in the Middle East, including the Iraqi dinar, subscribe to our channel and give this video a thumbs up if you found it interesting. If you don't want to miss any critical updates, make sure you click the notification bell. Even though Iraq has reached a turning point today, their road is far from over. Let us behold Iraq's journey from tragedy to triumph as we follow this story. Please return for the next update. We appreciate your time and attention.